Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Greetings, race fans, and welcome to Apex Racing TV's presentation of the Radical Racing Challenge. J.R. Gregory here on the call, and a hearty welcome back to my partner, Racing Ron Mons, back from vacation last week, and of course, our friend and colleague Joshua Wilkie in the production booth. Folks, today we are racing the Radical SR10, 425 horsepower, 725 kilos, no traction control, no ABS. Mastering this car will absolutely make you better in every car that you drive. And why am I saying that? Because this is not a super secret Radical Racing Club. This is not a private league. This is the top split of the public server for this time slot, 2100 GMT. So if you would like to test your skills in these Radicals and appear on Apex Racing TV, show up. Buy this car, put some laps down, and see what happens. The upcoming schedule is fantastic. Classic, high-speed tracks, Road America, Road Atlanta, VIR, Spa, Brands Hatch, Mosport, Mount Panorama, and of course, the season finale, Green Hell. So strongly recommend joining this fantastic Radical community. So here we are. Week 3 takes us to Oulton Park. And when you see names like Knickerbrook, Druids, Lodge, and Old Hall, you know that we are in the UK. We are in Oulton Park, as I said, in northwest Great Britain, built in 1950 on the site of the Oulton estate, dating back to the 1800s. This track has played host to F1, F2, F3 over its 70-year history, currently hosts British Touring Car Championship and British Superbike Championships, among many others. Today's layout, 2.6 miles, 4.3 kilometers, 12 turns, notably omitting the two moderately annoying chicanes that have been added over the years for safety. And folks, this track and this car are a match made in heaven. Fast, sweeping corners, extremely well suited to the powerful and grip-heavy SR10. And it looks like, yep, I have gone crazy talking here on my intro. Ron, why don't you run us through the grid here so that people realize that you are actually here? And my apologies for being long-winded at the intro. Oh, and Ron may not be there. Well, folks, there is your starting grid. Andreas Friedrich is your pole sitter. I believe that Friedrich is P1 on the season starting this week. Yes, he is. Next to him is Al Amri, who has had some great performances in this series in the past. Kike Ming, P10 overall in the season, will be position 3. Medeo next to him. Woodward and Caruso will make up row 3. Gonzaga and Kyriakopoulos will be in row 4. And congratulate myself for pronouncing that correctly for the first time, potentially. Walters and Kadura will be behind in row 5, and James Berry will be next to Chad Fox in row 6, and Berry is overall P2 on the season so far. And let's not forget, Gordon Hauge will be by himself there in the back in P13. So looking down back at the grid, that is Friedrich on your right, and we are green. Friedrich is going to have the outside line somewhat awkwardly into turn 1 here, and already it appears that Al Amri has taken advantage of the position, and Friedrich losing a couple positions there. Al Amri is going to beat them all out of turn 1 and hustling down into turn 2. No, I checked that. That is Medeo now in turn 2. Medeo from Friedrich, from Ming, from Woodward, from Gonzaga. Had a couple people off track there on that tricky first corner on cold tires. It looks like things have calmed down a little, and just as I say that, oh my goodness, somebody taking a ride through the grass there and into the barrier. Not sure who that was. May have
that's Al Amri.
May have been Al Amri there, and a little bit of madness to get this one going. Wow.
Yeah, that was absolute chaos. Definitely didn't help that I had my microphone issue there for some reason. Discord just didn't seem and didn't register me talking, but still fairly chaotic start. That was Al Amri going off like 3 corners in a row. He went off coming out of turn 1, did a little bit of lawn mowing action there on the inside, and then goes off towards the other end of the circuit, the other far end of the track. So a very tough start for him. He started up towards the front, and unfortunately for him, he is now down 13th and stone cold last.
Yeah, Al Amri gridding in number 3 and has plummeted all the way to the back after a couple of offs there. And Ron, you didn't get to join us for our laps this morning, but I know you have driven on this track before. This track is demonically designed. It seems like numerous corners have their either a blind apex, off-camber apex, or an apex right over the crest of a hill. Makes for a very, very challenging drive, particularly in these high-powered radicals.
Well, the one word you used beautifully there to describe this circuit is challenging, but it also lends itself to some racing, as we're seeing Caruso getting challenged here from Walters behind. They were trying to go side by side. They're coming through the very fast sweeper there of, let me check my track map real quick. That is Island Bend that they went through side by side, so that's not really a corner you see too many overtaking at, but they're going side by side again, going down the back straightaway. This is a very gutsy move there. They're avoiding the chicane there, which usually breaks up the flow, and Walters gets past and actually pushes Barry off. Actually, no, that was Caruso getting pushed off, my apologies. So Caruso gets the other shoulder there and gets pushed off the circuit, going through that very fast right-hander, battling with Walters. So yeah, getting back to the point that I was going to mention about this track, it is very, very challenging. It has an old school feel to it, not a whole lot of runoff area to speak of. Certainly Fox there discovering some of that runoff area as he went very wide coming into the final corner.
Yeah, I think that was Walter there in Lodge after making a beautiful move on the inside into Druids. It's very, very difficult corner. The only way that you can describe entry to that corner under braking is careening. Once you careen down that hill, you have to make a right turn over a blind apex and right over the rise of a hill. Very, very tricky spot. Walters manages to stuff it in there, and after taking that big risk and making that beautiful move, it's all for naught as he washes out, overcooking the entry to Lodge. Very easy to do. It's kind of a lower speed corner for purposes of this track and downhill, and he's not going to be the first person we see wash out there.
I can imagine there's going to be plenty of mistakes throughout this race. As I mentioned, this circuit has an old school feel. It's remained pretty much unchanged from how the track was back in the very early days, besides the other chicanes that they added. On the back straightaway, this circuit is still very old school in its nature. It doesn't have a whole lot of asphalt runoff to speak of, so I think that might be the reason why we have a lot of mistakes here, and also a lot of mistakes that get punished very harsh at this track, so that'll be something to keep our eye on here. One thing that we will keep our eye on is some slipstreaming past going down that very long hilltop back straightaway. That is something that we've seen a lot in this radical. It's always very powerful, the slipstream effect that these cars have, so it will be something that will play a big role in this race, and it's definitely playing a role here for Gordon Haug, who gets a little bit of slipstream there and pulls out from the back of Woodward to try and attempt to move going around the outside of Cascades there. Robert Woodward is a name that we've seen quite a lot in this series. Didn't see a whole lot of him last season or the year or the season prior for that matter, but he has returned here for season 4 and is putting on a decent race right now. He's in the middle of the field right now, P7, right ahead Gordon Haug.
Yeah, 3 laps in the bag out of 18. And we had got Mendeo leading from Ming, from Friedrich, from Gonzaga, from Barry. And among that list of 5 are 3 of our season top 10 drivers. Following Barry is Walters, Woodward, Hausch, Caruso, Kadura, Fox, and Kyriakopoulos. And Al Amri still fighting. Did not park it after a couple of issues there, but nonetheless in P13. And here we go through this difficult back section watching Ming. And again, very difficult to get the car woed up right here. You see the rise right there at the apex of that final corner. Very, very enjoyable track because of these great challenges. Really well designed. It's absolute blast to drive here.
Oh, it is a brilliant circuit to drive on. I know I've done many laps around this track in all types of cars, whether it be the IndyCar, whether it be the Radicals you see on screen now, or whether it be some GT3 cars. This track has always been a hoot for me to drive on. And I'm sure these drivers are having a lot of fun. It could be the reason why we've seen the most amount of participation of anyone so far this season. Had not the highest participation in the world at Donington Park 2 weeks ago and last week at Magny Cours. Never mind that, as we see Kike Ming sliding down the inside of Medeo there, coming through the other shell corner there. It's a very tricky corner, have a little bit of banking there, and if you overshoot it there, you are done for. So it's another very challenging section of this track, which is very fun, which has brought out quite a lot of drivers, a lot of participation here, as Kike Ming and Medeo go side by side, coming through that corner. That's very tight there, and looked like Andreas Friedrich was nearly going to go onto the grass to try and go 3 wide with these drivers. This is some absolutely brilliant stuff that we're seeing now, going through the very tight and twisty section towards the end of this Oulton Park circuit. They're still going side by side. They've been going side by side for the past 30 seconds. It's been unbelievable right now. They're continuing to go side by side as they go into Lounge Corner. They still go side by side on exit. They're going to be side by side coming to the finish line. This is unbelievable stuff here. They're continuing to fight very hard, even though we're just about a third of the way into this race. They're still going side by side. This is unbelievable right here.
Yeah, this is incredible. And meanwhile, Friedrich and Gonzaga and Barry are all have the popcorn seats of this battle up front, licking their chops, waiting for Medeo and Ming to possibly have an issue. And finally, Medeo has pushed ahead. They're going to enter the shell.
Oh no, Kike Ming's off. Ming in the dirt. Oh, this will be a bad rejoin. Oh my god, that was a near disaster there for Kike Ming and Barry. Certainly a disaster for Kike Ming, who falls out of that lead pack battle and is now dropped behind Barry. He just dropped a wheel coming through Island Bend, and that is not a corner where you want to make a mistake on. Just dropped a wheel into the dirt, and that cost him dearly, and he nearly crashed there with Barry on the rejoin.
Yeah, very near disaster there. And Josh and I were discussing this a little bit prior to the race. Kike Ming should send a thank you card to iRacing Coders, who in a recent update added some additional grip to the grass that saved Ming from the barrier there. On a couple of seasons ago, when the grass was like ice, Ming would be picking that car out of the tires right now, but instead manages to get back onto the track, came back out in P5 and has since passed Barry to get back in P4. So the new grippy grass doing a huge favor for Ming and saving him from sure catastrophe there.
And right now we've got a nice little pack forming here up towards the front. Medeo, who held off the challenge there from Ming quite a few laps ago. They were going side by side for quite a long time, and we might get a replay here to see what happened with Ming at this very corner 1 lap ago. It was near disaster for him. We're going to see the side-by-side action they had for just so long. You can see Andreas Friedrich looking to peek a wheel there, and Kike Ming just got into the dirty air of Medeo ahead, and is just a passenger here, hits the gravel. Thankfully, it gets him slowed down a little bit, as you said, if the other iRacing coders didn't code the other off-track surfaces to be how they are now in Season 4. That would have been an absolute disaster for not just Kike Ming, but also Barry as well. That would have been 2 cars wiped out there in the span of a few seconds. We've seen that here on Apex Racing TV. We saw it a few seasons ago with the iRacing Israel League, where there was a 3-car crash going through that corner just because one driver had a simple mistake. And just, that's a very tricky corner. It's also can lead to absolute carnage if one driver goes off, though. Thankfully for Kike Ming, he keeps it under control and manages to prevent a massive accident, although he has lost quite a lot of time because of it.
And you are right, Ron. Barry should be grateful for that grippy grass as well, because Ming was pointed right at him. It would have been a high-speed T-bone in the middle of that hairpin in the old days, but both drivers avoiding that. Now here we are in lap 8. We got Medeo from Friedrich from Gonzaga. A 3-car train has formed with about 0.7 separating those three. See if Medeo can stretch this out a little bit. Friedrich polishing his bumper as we're about to do that crazy careen downhill into Druids with Gonzaga a couple ticks back, watching these two. And Friedrich wants something here. Let's see what he wants to do. Medeo will cover the inside. Friedrich will take the outside, and he thinks the better of it, backs out, and now he's going to try the over-under coming up the hill. Another very difficult right-hander that we're headed into here. And yeah, I would have been surprised to see a side-by-side attempt there. Very, very tricky off-camber, high-speed corner there. But still, Medeo, Friedrich, and Gonzaga roped together with some invisible dental floss there as they are about to complete lap 8. This is a barn burner. Wow, what a great car track combination we're enjoying today. And are they catching lap traffic there? Am I lion eyes deceive me? No, we went back to Barry, watching Barry and Woodward for a moment there. I thought we were hitting some back markers with the leaders, but nope, we're just going down the grid a little bit, watching Woodward now. Now back to Friedrich, Medeo, and Gonzaga, and Ming sniffing around. He wants to get back into that top 3, heading down into Shell Corner, or heading into Island rather, and Shell will be the next corner here, this banked hairpin. Ron, what a race, holy cow.
This has been absolutely incredible so far, and even with the massive mistake he had a few laps ago, Kike Ming has gotten involved in this fight because Medeo, Gonzaga, and Friedrich have been battling extremely hard over the last few laps. They're continuing to battle hard because I think Andres Friedrich might size up a move here on Jorge Gonzaga as they go into one of the favorite named corners on all this track, Knickerbrook. That's a fantastic corner. It sounds like some kind of cereal bar, and there's Caruso having a massive moment there. He manages to keep it going, but that was still a big slide there. Smoke screen half of the field, and he's very lucky to get away with that, with only some squared off tires, some bruised ego, and just probably not very clean pants after that. He probably had some very tense moments there. His heart probably skipped a few beats as he saw those cars approaching him.
Yeah, and speaking of Knickerbrook, if anybody's bored here following the race, I encourage you to check the Wikipedia entry on Oulton Park. There's a pretty amusing story behind the naming of that iconic corner here at Oulton Park. Now, lap 18 in the books. These laps are going by in a hurry, particularly for Kike Ming, who has put down a 120.26. He's your fast lapper at this point. And looking down the grid, I'm looking at 13 cars who have all lapped under 121. The slowest is at 127.7 and the fastest at 120.2. And that's the kind of competition that we get here in the Radical Racing Challenge. We have 13 cars lapping within a half a second of each other and still clustered together, bumper to bumper. And here's Al Omri. He's putting down a 120.2, showing that he can get it done as well. Man, oh man. I had a feeling that this was going to be a good one, and it has given me everything I had hoped for.
If it wasn't for the mistake that we saw for Caruso there, the whole field would be separated by less than 7 seconds, so that shows you the incredible racing that we're having right now. These cars are all stuck on a massive train, and really they're just trying their best they can to try and break out of that train. You saw the understeer that Gordon Haug had going through Druids, and it just shows you how powerful the slipstream is, but in the contrast, how powerful the dirty air is. But one man that's actually in the dirty air and still putting in some pretty good laps is Jorge Gonzaga, who just set the fastest lap of the race at a 1:20.1. That is a brilliant lap from him. He was so much quicker than Medeo that lap and just puts in a barnstormer there. So right now it's just so many, a lot of drivers making mistakes at this stage, but still, these drivers are just so incredibly close, lap time wise and track position wise. This is some amazing stuff to watch. If any of the people from the Radical Racing Challenge are watching this, any of the ones that stalk the forums, especially when it comes time to vote for next season's schedule, vote for Oulton Park, because this is some brilliant stuff. What track would we have 3 wide action going down the straightaway? That is extremely tense stuff there. That was a driver going off off there, just doing a little bit of lawn mowing there. But still, that was Walters involved with that, along with the other driver ahead of Woodward and also Barry. So that was a 3-wide pack, along with Kadora, who's also involved with that. And we've got more side-by-side action farther up the field. This is between Andreas Friedrich and Jorge Gonzaga. While these two battle, Medeo is actually starting to pull away now.
Yeah, we're seeing Medeo, and there's Woodward. Looks like he has overcooked that tough entry into Lodge, it looks like. And we'll get a little replay of that. And as we're watching this, something to keep in mind about this course, part of going fast here is driving right on the boundaries. It's kind of a Woodward, he might have had a little help there, little tap there that helped him lock up those fronts. And now Woodward way in the back looking forward. But as I was saying, Ron, part of putting down fast laps of this track is testing the boundaries and driving right up to them. And taking a look at our top secret timing tower. I'm not going to name any names, but these 1Xs are starting to pile up, and you can end up with a black flag drive-through penalty if you rack up too many of these off track. So that may actually play a role here, which we don't usually see in the Radical Racing Challenge.
Oh boy, I thought I was going to see some 3-wide action here with this battle for second, third, and fourth. Kike Ming is probably just trying to look for some form of redemption after that mistake. At this point, the leader, Medeo, has pulled away so much that I don't think Kike Ming will have a chance, but he's still trying to make it up into the podium spots as he goes down the inside of Andreas Friedrich, going into Lounge Corner there. That was a brilliant move there. Lodge Corner, my apologies. I blame my dyslexia for that. Kike Ming pulls off a pretty good move there on Andreas Friedrich to go into the final podium position. That was a brilliant move. We might get a replay here to see what happened there. That was a fantastic move there from Kike Ming.
Yeah, we're going to see Ming testing his braking abilities coming down into Lodge Corner. Very difficult braking area. The track falls away from you, and you have to set up for the apex of that corner over a rise. Very easy to get loose there. Ballsy move by Ming, and he's rewarded with a P3. Wow, what great driving by all these drivers today. This is one of the best races that I have seen in this series.
I'll tell you, we've had some barn burners of some races, but this is definitely up towards the tippy top. This is brilliant stuff. We saw that whole lap of drivers going side by side, and we have more drivers going side by side up towards the front of the field. Now Jorge Gonzaga is getting challenged by Kike Ming. Ming pulled off the pass to get into the podium last lap, and it looks like he's going to try and do the same going into Lodge Corner. This time, he might be stuck getting passed, actually, by Andreas Friedrich. I thought he was going to look for the move. He does look for the move, going around the outside. That just shows you the yin and yang effect here for these cars. 1 minute you'll expect to see a driver being forced to get overtaken, and then the next they'll find a way to get past. And Kike Ming is still looking for that move, trying to go around the outside into the grass. All 4 tires off into the lawn. Not sure, maybe he picked up a slowdown from that, but that was still extreme. That was very ballsy racing from all those drivers, and Kike Ming manages to make it up into second. I'm shocked that he avoided picking up a slowdown from that, because that was all 4 tires off into the dirt.
Yeah, you'll see Gonzaga falling to P4 there, and these 3 are putting on an incredible show. We have seen 3 of these Radical SR10s inside of 0.3 of a second, more or less continuously for the last 2, 3, 4 laps. And it's going to continue as we're going to see more side-by-side action between Friedrich and Ming coming downhill into Druids. They're going to turn in together with Gonzaga watching from behind to see what's going to go on, and Ming is going to pull away. And wow, is that going to give Friedrich an opportunity to get that P3 back? He's certainly showing his nose and sniffing around, and now Walters is beginning to reel this group in with all this side-by-side action and defensive lines. Walters is slowly chipping away at that lead as we're about to start lap 15 of 18.
David Walters was actually nearly a second faster than the drivers up ahead. That just shows you how hard they're battling. But while the battle on track continues, the battle for the fastest lap is continuing on as well. Abdul Alamari actually has set the fastest lap now. He's broken past the 1 minute 20 barrier, set a 1 minute 19.92. So that was a brilliant lap from him last lap. He backs it up quite nicely. Doesn't improve on that time, but he still put in a very good lap. The driver who qualified up towards the front of the field and had that unfortunate mistake, series of mistakes actually, on lap 1 that relegate him down the order. He is still trying to prove that things are not over yet for him. He probably won't be involved in this fight with such little time left in this race, but he is not going out he's not going out without a fight. He is still swinging, even though he's currently in P8. That was a brilliant lap from Alamari. He'll probably be thinking what could have been with tonight's race here in the Radical Racing Challenge here for round 3 at Oulton Park.
Yeah, the Radical giveth and the Radical taketh away. And Al Omri, 119.92 as Ron said, the first one to drop into the 19s. Are we going to see anybody join him in that rarefied air? I would bet that we are. Not a betting man, of course, but we're just completing lap 15 now. And look at the gap that Medeo has been able to create over Ming, taking advantage of the constant battling going forth.
Oh.
And somebody's around there. Who have we lost there?
Gonzaga.
That was Gonzaga. Gonzaga has looped it. He may have hit the barrier on the right-hand side of the track there. And we'll take a look at the replay and see if he had any help here. There is Gonzaga in the Huskenveld liveried car in the middle there. And, man, oh man, you got to watch your steering input. Like I said, the apex of that lodge corner is right over a crest. You have to be ready for the car to get light at the top of that crest. Gonzaga not ready, gets caught out, and man, after all that fighting, almost to the end of the race, has plummeted to P11. And you know, Jorge Gonzaga is feeling some displeasure right about now.
Another driver feeling displeasure is actually Kadora, who overshot the Shell Oil's hairpin there by a country mile, locked up quite heavily, and is now having to hold off Chad Fox right behind. That was some nice racing there, going side by side down the back straightaway, but that continues to cool off a little bit. But if you're impressed by the racing action that we have here for this third round of the Radical Racing Challenge, you know where to find us here on Apex Racing TV. And if you'd want to tune in 1 week's time for the other round at Road America, you know exactly where to find us. That'll be a very interesting race, completing an interesting schedule. I think we'll have some fantastic racing at Road America. It used to be our season opener, but now it's relegated to the 4th round, but that will not take the luster off a fantastic round here, and I'm sure it'll be a fantastic race here for the Radical Racing Challenge here in Season 4. And I just saw on the left-hand side of our screen with the SDK graphics that the driver up towards the podium positions, I believe that was Andreas Friedrich. Yeah, Andreas Friedrich just set a 1-minute 19.76. So while the on-track action has cooled off a little bit as we approach the closing stages of this race, the battle for the fastest lap has continued to heat up. That was a brilliant lap there from Andreas Friedrich, but I can imagine that a driver might try and take that crown for fastest lap away from him in the final few laps here.
Yeah, and that 119, folks, is flying. I am no Max Verstappen, but we did some laps here a couple minutes before our broadcast in the public practice session, and I'm here to tell you that if you're putting down a 119, you are rolling the dice on every corner, on every lap, and you are a very skilled driver with a lot of car control. Going that fast, these cars are wiggling, they're loose, and you got to be ready to catch them when that tail starts to come around, which it will over all these very difficult corners here at Oulton Park. Man, what a race we're seeing. And here is the white flag. Medeo gone. Who we're watching now is Ming from Friedrich in P2 and 3. They are less than a second now. Friedrich somehow getting a run out of turn 1 and into turn 2. Can he slam the door? He's overcooks that a little bit. I saw the wiggle, but he manages to keep Ming behind him. Close behind him, though. Something is going to happen here into Shell Corner. I have a feeling.
Yeah, I think Ming is going to look for the move. He went a little wide there, is peeking a look down the inside going into the Shell Oil hairpin there, but it's not close enough. But I'm sure Kike Ming is going to try and size up a move here. Maybe he'll try and move going into the lodge corner that we saw him pull off on Friedrich a few laps ago. Maybe he'll look for a move going into Knickerbrook. Oh, he's going for the move going into Knickerbrook. That's not a corner you see too many passes on. Oh, my God. That's a dive, and now I think Walters is going to be involved in that fight. Friedrich had to get checked up quite badly there, and now I believe that Walters has actually gone past. But the man of the hour has been Mario Medea, who's probably going to take a very very dominant win here, but the battle's not over yet for P2. Andreas Friedrich is going to lose out on that P2. It looked like he might have lost it out to Kike Ming, but it looks like he's going to lose it out to Walters. Medeo's won the race by a country mile, but now we've got some side-by-side action farther down. That was an extremely close finish, about a tenth of a second, separating those two at the very end. That's Walters actually pulling ahead there of Friedrich to score the second place run. That was a brilliant final lap there from Walters. I'm sure if it wasn't for the dive that Kike Ming went for on Friedrich, it probably wouldn't have happened. But Walters just kept it clean. He closed that gap in quite a lot as those drivers continue to battle, and he brings it home in P2. That was some brilliant stuff there all throughout that race. That was amazing.
Yeah, great job by Walters. He let that come to him. He passed a lot of cars that he encountered on the grass on the side of the track. And what a send by Ming. I got to tell you, that one, Ron, had no chance and caused Friedrich to have to check up. And there's Walters as that P2 drops right into his lap. And I bet Friedrich is not alone in not expecting that result. Holy cow. What a fantastic race, folks. Glad that you tuned in for this one. Glad I'm here with Ron and Josh to call it. What a fantastic race. That was nuts. And here we are. Here's a replay. Here's Ming now. And send it. Oh. No chance. No chance. That was crazy. Manages to keep it out of the tires. I think Ming will still come across the line in P5 after dropping 2 spots from his qualifying position. Walters, meanwhile, the hard charger, as I said, letting the race come to him. He's going to move up 7 positions to take P2. And here are our results, man. I am just still laughing. That is the best race I have ever called and the best radical race I have ever seen. That was absolutely insane. So in first place, Mario Medeo drove away with that one. We saw Walters gifted P2 there by Ming's wild move into Druids. Andreas Friedrich shaking his head. Lucky that he didn't get taken out by Ming as well, but he still had to check up and gave up that P2, although he did end up on the podium. Abdul Al-Amri put down some fast laps, kind of trying to recover from some self-inflicted wounds, ends up in P4. Ming somehow in P5 after several offs and that wild send into Druids. Again, the grippy grass helping Ming not DNF from this one likely. P6 is Kadura, 7 is Fox, P8 Kyriakopoulos, James Berry in P9. Caruso will round out your top 10, followed by Gonzaga, Woodward, and Haug. Everybody finishing this one, which was a little surprising. I would have suspected some kind of flaming wreckage was going to turn up with all that hard racing that was going on. But these guys kept it together. And man, this radical community, they practice together. They hang out together in their forum. And the result is what we saw today. Great, close, high trust racing. And wow, that was fantastic, Ron. What are your thoughts?
Oh, that was some absolutely fantastic racing, and one of the men that was involved in that racing throughout most of it was Jorge Gonzaga, who we might be able to bring in here for an interview. I'll drag him into the other interview, into the comms box here. He was involved in that fight throughout the race. Jorge Gonzaga, thank you so much for joining us racing, and how you probably wanted it to, but you still put together a very fine drive. How's the race?
Yeah, it's one of those things, like you can almost taste the sky, and then all of a sudden it comes crumbling down. But it was a huge epic battle. Come on, those guys are aliens, so I wasn't even supposed to be there, and I did my best. But yeah, I cooked the tires and eventually didn't manage properly. So yeah, the tires gave in, and it was inevitable. But it was so close, and yeah, it's one of those things gets you thinking.
Oh, I'll tell you, you were the cameraman for that battle that was heating up for the final few podium spots. I want to ask you about that. Just the nature of this track is very conducive to nice battling. We saw it a few seasons ago here in the Radicals, and we just saw it again tonight. How do you feel about this track?
I love it. It's like this one and Brands Hatch is my favorite tracks. That's why I can keep up the pace, and because the track is so narrow, it's easy to not to block maliciously, but like trying to defend your position is really easy, and that was what I was trying to do. Like I knew exactly where to put the car, even if they would get a better exit than I did. I would be able to at least, get a bit in the way to try to defend my position. And eventually I was hoping to keep up with Mario Matteo, but well, he had bigger pace, and it was just fighting Kik and Andreas, and their royalty, their radical royalty. So it was really hard, but I knew how to defend in this track, and I took advantage of that. But yeah, in the end, keeping up that pace, the tires just started to go at some point. So around lap 12, which I think is where I spun. Yeah, it doesn't. This track is not kind to tires. Yeah, let's put it that way.
Well, you did mention Brands Hatch there, and we will be visiting that later this season. How do you fancy your chances when we show up to Brands Hatch in about 4 weeks?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Actually, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to attend. I have some professional, things going on. But if I can, it's one of my favorite tracks. And Oulton and Brands are my favorite. And yeah, I can be competitive in those. So I'm really looking forward to it, to try to get as many points as possible for the championship.
Well, hopefully we can see you there at Brands Hatch. Hopefully we can see you next week as well when the series heads to Road America. Thank you so much for joining us. Anyone you'd like to give thanks to or shout out?
I want to give a shout out to you guys. You guys are here every week. I follow the broadcast straight after the race, and I feel bad no one ever comes to say hi to you guys, and so I wanted to give this shout out to you and the excellent work the three of you put every week. Covering. The Radical is going through a bit of a rough patch in terms of attendance, which is normal because there's a lot of competitive series in iRacing right now. But you guys still are committed, and I really want to thank you guys for that. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for those words of flattery. A cookie has been dispatched to your location. Jorge Gonzaga, thank you so much for joining us. We might have to drag you into the commentary booth for some of these races to get some quotes from you after it. Thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure.
No worries. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Cheers. Bye.
Wow.
That was Jorge Gonzaga, and that was very flattering there.
Yeah, and I feel for Jorge. He put on such a great show. He was hanging with the big dogs for 90% of the race, but as you heard him say, there was a cost to that. He felt like he overdrove the tires, and that caused his off that knocked him down out of the podium positions. But man, what a fantastic race, and you know that he was loving every minute of it, and you know that he had no regrets, even though he may not have finished where he wanted to. Holy cow, that folks was fantastic. And just a reminder, this is the kind of racing that we have every 7 days a week on Apex Racing TV. We have some of the best drivers, best circuits, and best cars that you can see on YouTube. And so go ahead and hit subscribe to Apex Racing TV, and don't forget to check that notification box so you don't miss anything. This weekend there are two good-looking Ray esports events. We've got Formula Ford Weekend Warriors at the always entertaining VIR, Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors at Summit. And next week kicks off strong with the Ricmatech World Challenge Series taking on Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta on Monday night. And wow, I don't think us or our audience could have asked for a better race run. And any closing thoughts before we check out for today?
I'll tell you, after taking my little hiatus here from the Radicals last week to go on vacation to Cincinnati, a town in America most famous for once being run by Jerry Springer, who was a mayor there back in the 90s or 80s or some era like that. This was a fantastic race to come back to. We had some brilliant racing all throughout the field. We had battles up towards the front. We had battles for the final few podium spots, deep in the top 5, deep in the top 10, and even farther towards the back. We just had some brilliant racing here. We had a split for the first time this season as well, so the participation issue that some have described as an issue here in this series, that has been getting better, and hopefully it'll continue to get better, and I'm sure it will be better throughout this season because we have some brilliant tracks that we'll be visiting throughout the rest of this year. We've got Road America coming up next week, which is part of iRacing's base content, so I think we'll have another packed field and hopefully another fantastic race to bring here on Apex Racing TV in 1 week's time.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget about Road America. I think one thing that we learn every time that these radicals visit Road America is what their top speed is. Huge draft at Road America. We'll see these things flying at terminal velocity down into turn 1. And man, what a great race. I could not have asked for anything else. Thank you so much to our audience for joining us here today. I am J.R. Gregory on behalf of myself, Racing Ron Mons, and our friend Joshua Wilkie. Thank you for joining us on Apex Racing TV's presentation of the Radical Racing Challenge. Happy Friday and have a great weekend.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.